tomorrow's June 1st. At this time last year, I was coming off of the golf course early because the Cardinals made a last-ditch effort to rid themselves of the DeAndre Hopkins contract. He was a pre-June 1st cut. And then, of course, you got as things kind of go into, and you can transfer them into the new league year post-June 1st. Some of the guys whose contracts are a little bit too high become a little bit more reasonable for the teams they're currently on to make some deals, and the teams that would acquire them, they wouldn't have to take on too much salary. Bleacher Report preparing their readers for some deals, and they tied the Arizona Cardinals to a veteran that Jonathan Gannon's very familiar with. They had a deal where the Cardinals are going and getting James Bradberry from the Philadelphia Eagles, along with a 4th-round pick in 2025. So Bradberry comes over for the 4th-round pick, and the Philadelphia Eagles are getting just a 5th-round pick in return. So and I believe in this scenario, the Eagles would have to absorb quite a bit of salary from Bradberry. They're going to have to absorb a ton of just dead cap for Bradberry. It's not a great contract, but they can save a little bit of money if they do end up cutting him or trading him after June 1st. So James Bradberry, brutal season last year. But the year before, I mean, he had a pretty good year for the Eagles, playing opposite Darius Slay on Jonathan Gannon's Super Bowl defense that had 70 sacks and 17 picks. What do you think about James Bradberry as a potential addition for the Arizona Cardinals before training camp?
I don't mind it. I told you that earlier. I mean, he was awful last year. Like we did we take a peek at his stats yet? I mean, we haven't. He is so bad. I mean, he gave up 11 touchdowns, 740 yards, 114.3 pass rating when targeted. I mean, that's a pretty atrocious season. The PFF score was actually a little bit better than I thought it was going to be. Like 56.6 is a below average player, but not by a whole lot. Like they clearly, maybe they saw watching him individually that he was maybe a little bit better than he was given credit for. But I just think that when you look at the Cardinals, they could probably still use a DB. Like there's some upside here. If you're getting some compensation back for him in terms of a draft pick swap, I could maybe buy into it. I mean, it was one season ago that he was one of the best cornerbacks in football. So I just think the Cardinals are in a position where they're not paying a ton of guys like a lot of money, and it's worth a flyer, I think, at this point in the season.
11 touchdowns. It made me gasp.
It is a lot.
It's impressive.
11. I mean, it's like a pitcher who's approaching 20 losses in a season, like to continue to get starts.
Good for him.
I mean, it's like Marco Wilson last year. It's like, when is it going to end? I'm sure for Eagles fans. And it would be a celebrated exit for James Bradberry. But 11 touchdowns is insane. I mean, can he, even in a good scenario, play ball anymore?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's the last time he played with Jonathan Gannon, he was good, right? We can say that. So I guess that's where you kind of can wrap your head around it as a decision. Again, like I wouldn't trade anything of value for him, but in the scenario that we concocted up, like it would be the Cardinals are getting back a better draft pick than they're giving up. So that could sell me a little bit on it. But I mean, we talked about it here. There's other players on this list
for sure
that are better.
Let me just say this before we get to those guys. And Agent 47, I agree. Stay away from AZ, please. I just don't think James Bradberry, after looking at those numbers, is going to be where is he as far as giving Max Melton or Elijah Jones, whoever it may be, any young player, even Keitrell Clark, starting Thomas coming back and playing more snaps in their second year. I think the Cardinals would be better suited to do that than kicking the tires on James Bradberry and giving up.
Sterling Thomas?
Sterling Thomas is, in his mid-20s, I would assume.
Okay.
He's in his second season in the NFL. Not a high draft pick by any means, but I would much rather see if you could develop him instead of say, hey, James Bradberry, let's see if he can still, is he as washed as his numbers indicate from the previous season. But you're right. Looking at these other numbers or these other players that would be eligible for post June 1st acquisition, I would be much more interested in, say, the Arizona Cardinals trading similar value to a Matthew Judon with the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, DN pass rusher is way more of a need than cornerback, I think, on paper. And I do, there's some credence to what you said. Like the cornerback room is young, other than Sean Murphy-Bunting for the most part. And maybe you just kind of take your lumps there, and you're not expecting to be a Super Bowl contender this season, so you let those guys develop, and you let Keitrell Clark get some reps, and Starling Thomas, and some of those Max Melton, some of those younger corners. But the pass rush group could definitely use an influx of talent, and Matt Judon seems like a really good dude by all accounts. Like seems like a good team leader, and is just a really, really good football player. Got hurt last year, but the type of compensation that they're talking here for Matt Judon, 7th round pick, 2 7ths, and Matt Judon for 2 5ths. So you're swapping 2 picks and you're getting a top 10-ish pass rusher in the sport. Like that's definitely something I would be interested in. Probably more of like a contender type move. Like they have the Ravens being the team interested here, but I would kick the tires on that. Absolutely.